Go ahead.
Okay. So we go on with Dr. Katerina Venderova. Hi, Katerina, and welcome. Dr. Katerina Venderova is a PharmD, right, and pharmacologist. And I'm happy because I'm also a PharmD and pharmacologist as well.
Oh, wow.
So she is Associate Professor of Biomedical Sciences at Kaiser Permanente Bernard Tyson School of Medicine in Pasadena, California, right? But Katerina?
Yes, that's right.
She's a pretty famous because she got a fellow. She's a fellow, 2024 fellow of the Academy of Pharmacology Educators, which is part of the Aesthetic Association of American Society, actually, for the Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics. So she will talk to us about the mentoring in pharmacology, right, Katerina?
Yes. Thank you so much for
You have
the
a floor.
introduction. I don't think anybody ever introduced me as being famous, but I'll take that.
Well, it says on the website that you are fellow 2020,
yes, that's
2024.
correct.
Okay,
No,
you are famous.
that's correct. That's correct. Well, hi everyone. Good morning, and thank you for this invitation to speak on this very important topic. So I am from Pasadena, from California, and I'm an associate professor of biomedical sciences at Kaiser Permanente School of Medicine. My research training and background is in pharmacology indeed, and I have dedicated some 20 years of my life to academic research career, and also, of course, to mentoring a new generation of scientists. My lab specifically has been focusing on identifying and validating new pharmacological targets for treatment of neurodegenerative disorders. About 5 years ago, I have accepted a position as biomedical educator. So I no longer do the traditional wet lab research, and I now have a wide range of responsibilities and roles within our medical curriculum. I also serve as the vice chair of the Mentoring and Career Development Committee of the American Society of Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics, and I am here to share some of the experiences. So most, if not all of you, are very well familiar with this or similar diagrams that are often referred to as the leaky pipeline. So this leaky pipeline shows that, while we do have parity, gender parity at the completion of the terminal degrees in STEM disciplines, and actually in some disciplines, we now have more women, at least in the US, we have more women graduating with terminal degrees than men. There is a significant drop as the career progresses, and so that drop is really apparent at every stage of the career, and ultimately there is only about 20%, depending on the discipline, but on average in STEM disciplines, it's about 20% of full professors that are women. And of course, the number of women in leadership positions, such as deans or chairs of departments, is even lower. The figure on the right really shows very similar concept, but this is specific for biomedical science faculty, and so see the numbers are very similar. And I also wanted to add that, of course, it goes without saying that women of color, for women of color, the numbers are even lower. So there's only about 13% of women faculty who are from underrepresented, but from backgrounds that are traditionally underrepresented in medicine. So underrepresented in medicine, underrepresented in STEM disciplines, not just medicine. And in terms of race or ethnicity. So 30% of all women, 13% of all women are from these backgrounds. And so the representation is even much smaller. and the attrition rates are even larger. And so women are known to leave academia overall at higher rates than men. And that, again, I think it's striking because it actually occurs at every stage of the career, at every career age. So numbers which is defined as years after the terminal degree. And this is really nicely illustrated in this very recent study. I want to emphasize that the women who drop out of academia are very often very successful, experienced, tenured faculty. And the study also showed that women are more likely than men to feel pushed out from their jobs, and less likely than men to feel pulled toward another job opportunity. And so that's another issue that's kind of a layer underneath. The study also shows that women leave or consider leaving not so much because of work-life balance, which is something that we often think about, that is probably the issue. And that is true more so for very junior faculty. But majority of women actually, if they decide to leave academia, it's more because of workplace climate. And the figure on the right shows that women are also less likely to be promoted. And that is, and it takes women longer than men to get promoted. And that is, again, especially true for the promotion from associate to full professor. Again, there are so many ways to show the gender gap and the disparity, but this is gonna be the last one that I picked. This one shows the gender gap in terms of NIH grant funding. And again, we see that there is essentially parity in terms of a number of people receiving their PhD in life sciences. So about 55% are actually women. But 35% of research grants are awarded to women, NIH research grants, that is. And on average, these grants are smaller. So in other words, the dollar amount that goes to women in those from those research fundings from NIH, that number, that dollar amount is smaller on average than the dollar amount that goes to men to support their research. And what is even more striking is that really hasn't budged. Overall, it hasn't budged since this figure, since the beginning of this figure, which is 1985. So the gap is not really narrowing, it's about the same. So this is kind of depressing, not surprising. We all are familiar with similar data. And so the question is, why is the pipeline leaking? And there are discussing why that is would certainly easily take the rest of this symposium, and we could continue into the weekend, and we don't have the luxury of doing that. So I will just highlight a few of these issues. So one issue is that women are not well represented in all STEM disciplines, and again, this is especially true for women who are more senior, at the more senior levels, or who are academic leaders. And therefore, it may be challenging to find a senior woman who would be a good mentor and a role model in a particular discipline. Again, this is more of an issue in disciplines such as physics or computer science, but it is an issue in all STEM disciplines. Of course, men faculty and colleagues who are men, who identify as men, can be wonderful mentors. And I'm certainly not trying to suggest that we should only stick with women mentors. In fact, studies show that having a male mentor is really valuable, and all women should also have a mentor. But there are, of course, some potential issues and some challenges and concerns that come with that cross-gender mentoring relationship. Unconscious bias is a huge one, and it can present in a variety of ways. It can present in subtle ways. So as an example, I have a male colleague who only talks to me, he only asks me about my son. My senior male colleague only asks me about how my son is doing, never about my work or our work. So he doesn't see me as an equal, in my opinion. That's how I read that. So this is quite subtle, or relatively subtle. And then there are other ways which are a lot less subtle. For example, I had a male colleague who very openly shared with me that he would never take a female student to work in his lab. And so there are a variety of ways that this bias presents itself. And another dangerous way how it can present itself is in performance evaluations, where managers tend to offer less encouragement to women to pursue promotion or career advancement. They tend to provide less opportunities. And again, these are studies that very clearly show that, and consistently show that, not just in STEM disciplines, but in the workplace. Interestingly, there's a recent study that showed that managers, and that means both men and women, who believed that women in fact no longer face discrimination in the workplace, evaluate performance review files of male employees as significantly more competent than an identical file that was presented as being from a woman. So it's interesting, those who believe that there is no discrimination in the workplace of women anymore, those are the people who tend to actually discriminate due to an unconscious bias, more than those who believe there is discrimination, which I think is really fascinating. And it really speaks to kind of that lack of awareness of what discrimination and bias actually is. And it may not just present as, unwanted advances towards women, but all the subtle or more subtle differences in which it presents. And this is not only important for compensation and tenure, but also for professional growth. So again, another study shows that managers tend to give female employees a quote unquote nicer feedback. But this nicer feedback is actually more general, much less actionable, and therefore it's really less helpful, and it hinders the growth and professional development of women. And this is something that even mentors can be susceptible to. All of us, even women mentors, can be susceptible to this bias. And I really cannot emphasize this enough, that it's really important to not just be nice, but provide feedback that is really helpful and actionable. Caregiving and career, that's a challenging one. A lot of women are the primary caregivers. Of course, not all women, but this is an extra presents an extra level of challenge. And together with a lack of institutional support, this can be especially problematic, together with all kinds of societal norms and expectations that are imposed on women, such as the expectation to be friendly and caring and non-confrontational. Those again are some of the biases that come into play. And I think another reason why the pipeline is leaking is that we really often blur the line between mentorship and sponsorship. So we often we often talk about mentoring and how important it is to have mentors, and that is absolutely true. But again, studies show that women actually, in many instances, have more mentors than men. And what women lack are sponsorship. So the difference, of course, being that mentors provide guidance and advice and like a sounding board. And, that's very, very important and very helpful. But sponsors are those people who really speak positively about their protege behind closed doors. Those are the people who open up opportunities, open the doors for their protege. And so I really would like to invite everyone to maybe at the end of this day, think about how we can better serve as sponsors for our proteges and for our female colleagues. So, American Association for Pharmacology and Experimental Therapeutics, ASPET, is a community. It's a science research community that is international. We have about 4,000 members, and the goal is really to provide a community for all people who are interested in pharmacology, who do research in pharmacology, or serve as educators in pharmacology. And we also advocate for research funding for pharmacology, and that is to provide that is so that we can have new drugs for existing diseases or diseases that we didn't know existed and all of a sudden appeared. And so our members work in academia, in the government, in pharma companies, in biotech companies, nonprofit organizations. So it's a very wide organization that is a wide range of members. I mentioned I am the vice chair for Mentoring and Career Development Committee. So this committee is charged with supporting professional development for members at all career stages, and that of course is all genders. So people who identify as men or as women or other genders. And this committee develops and implements programming and resources to meet mentoring and career development needs of ASPET members. And we, of course, apply principles of inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility in our mentoring and career development approaches. The ASPET mentoring committee is charged with overseeing 3 specific mentoring programs that I highlighted here. First is Mentor Match. We also have Mentoring Network, and another program is Partnering for Success. So I will talk about each one of these briefly. So ASPET Mentor Match is meant for mentees and members at all career levels. It's very important that we don't only focus on our trainees and junior faculty, which of course is super important, but again, studies show that it's the mid-career women that often need, or mid-career faculty in general, but particularly women who need and who often lack appropriate mentoring and sponsorship. And so a mentor match is for members in all career levels. And it really is designed to facilitate one-on-one mentoring relationships via a platform that we have. And that platform allows has an algorithm for effective matching based on goals and needs of the mentors and mentees, and also all kinds of tools for goal setting and some career resources. And the mentors can also receive a certificate of completion, and so do the mentees. Another program, which is really more tailored towards the more junior ASPET members who are graduate students or postdoctoral scientists, is called ASPET Mentoring Network. And this is a year-long program that is based on a group coaching model. So essentially, people apply, and if they get accepted into this program, they are matched with a coach, and that coach has a group of 6 people. They initially meet at prior to our annual ASPET meeting, which is coming up, if anybody's interested, is coming up in April in Portland. And it's a wonderful meeting. And before that meeting, we have a day and a half dedicated to ASPET mentoring program. And during that ASPET mentoring program, the mentees who are matched to a coach meet with their coach, and we do activities to build trust. We kind of frame the whole, we introduce the whole program. We discuss the diverse experiences our mentees have. And so there's a whole range of in-person activities prior to the ASPET meeting. And then our teams, our groups meet virtually. We have these virtual conferences where those 6 people plus their coach meet on a regular basis. Usually it's monthly. Sometimes we also have individualized meetings, but with each of the mentees. But the idea is that it is a coaching model, and the difference being that it's more driven by the mentees, and it's very individualized, tailored to the mentees. And rather than the mentors telling the mentees what to do, the idea is that we listen and ask powerful questions. So that's really more the idea, because the mentees, they are smart people, they are driven, and they can come up with answers that work for them. And they are much more likely to actually do the thing that they themselves came up with as the answer. So we provide guidance, we provide validation, but we don't tell our mentees what to do. And there are a variety of topics that the mentees decide what is it that they want to discuss. Well, typically we discuss things like work-life balance and time management, and how to do a job search and CV writing, and how to network effectively and write grants. All those key things that are needed for anyone to be a successful researcher or educator in life sciences, and in pharmacology in this case. And now the last one is partnering for success. So this is really having a meeting buddy, as it's referred to. It's specifically for the ASPET annual meeting, where particularly the very, very junior members, maybe first-time attendees, maybe undergraduate students, are actually paired with slightly more senior ASPET members such as postdoc or a more advanced graduate student, to kind of show them the ropes, if you will, at the meeting, and really allow them to experience the meeting to its fullest, what it has offers. They kind of tell them what are good sessions to attend and how to navigate the meeting itself. But oftentimes these relationships actually continue past the meeting. And I have the last 2 slides. I hope I am still within the time frame.
I think we do need to wrap it up to stay on time, actually.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to go, I'm not gonna spend much time. So these are some of the goals for good mentoring. So, you know, it's for career advancement and develop skills. I also wanted to say that it's actually probably multiple mentors that we are talking about. It's probably not gonna be just one person who's gonna be able to fulfill all of these requirements. So we very much believe in mentoring networks. Confidence building is a huge one, and creating the sense of belonging, which is again often what is being quoted as the reason for the dropout of more senior women from academia. And the last one is kind of a list of I talked about the need for having actionable feedback for our junior and for our mentees in general. So I have a list of actionable feedback here on this last slide. And, you know, it's very important to be engaged with your own society and be involved in conference or symposia organization, inviting women and people with diverse backgrounds to present at conferences, nominating female scientists and educators for awards, share opportunities when there's an opportunity for an award, share it with your network, and self-nominate. There's no shame in that at all. Self-nominate or ask a colleague to nominate you for opportunities. Make yourself visible during seminars and conferences, ask questions. And a huge one is to surround yourself with a supportive network, non-judgmental supportive network that is, however, not shy to give you actionable feedback. And that network can be men or women. They can be within your discipline, ideally, not necessarily. That is critical. And I'm gonna, this is my contact information, and I'm happy to continue our discussion offline, or we can meet separately. And I saw there were some questions popping up, but I just couldn't read them while I was presenting. Thank you.
Thank you, Katerina. I don't know, we probably will. Amanda, do you want to ask yourself that question, or?
No, why don't we try to do some questions offline since we've run out of time?
Okay.
I'm going to stop the recording and then restart it.
Okay, if we still have some time, we'll probably